right, now we can call the meeting to order. Shall we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item this evening is to recognize Edward Henry. He's been a crossing guard for 25 years with Horsham Township. Mr. Walker?
Many of us know Ed, like Mr. Whiteside just said, 25 years as a crossing guard in Horsham Township, but Ed has been much more than just a crossing guard in Horsham Township. Ed has umpired for the Horsham Little League for many years, and also the Horsham Day softball tournament for many years, umpiring that event. But a very active community member. Ed is at the crossing at Blair Mill Road, or Moreland Avenue and Bender, right across from the Village Mall. And you know, it's he's still alive. You know.
No tread marks.
Anyone that knows that crossing location, Ed does a fantastic job getting those children across safely, and has done it for 25 years. And it's not an easy crossing with the bend in the road right there at the shopping center, and sometimes people aren't expecting a crossing guard to be standing out on the road when they come over the bend at that early morning hour trying to rush themselves to work. So, but Ed has been just a really great person, a great employee, a great volunteer in the community, always willing to step up, but very committed, very dedicated, and an easygoing person, and that's much appreciated. So thank you, Ed, for all your years of service to the township and to the kids.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's great. I've never met a bad kid. All the kids are good. Cars are different.
Cars are different than the kids.
Tell you what, going by there and seeing you out there, thank God for all those cones.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Well, we have a plaque for you. If you would, hang around for a few minutes because we have a few more recognitions and then we want to take some pictures.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have a check presentation to St. Vincent de Paul Food Pantry from the proceeds of the annual Freezer 5K. Dennis, you want to comment on that? You're going to do that?
No. Dennis is good.
That's okay. As you know, every year we have our annual Freezer 5K that's been held down at, what's that, Simmons? Out front. It goes, it's a course that is charted and it's set as specific mileage, so that way it's legit. And the runners come and we have different vendors from the town that come out, and it's a real good event. Kyle Lynch, our Assistant Director of Public Works, was actually the employee that headed it up this year, as long as a small team of volunteers that some are here tonight. Allie's here tonight, and that's it. But typically every year we give half of the proceeds to St. Vincent de Paul, and we have a donation as a check. If you guys want to come up and put the donation.
And this has been increasing since the pandemic. As you know, when we first started this Freezer 5K, no one else did 5Ks during the winter time. So, you know, and before the pandemic, we were it. We were the only ones doing any winter 5Ks in the area. And then a lot of people copied off of us, and that's okay. And then the pandemic hit us. So our numbers are increasing again. So we are looking to reach our numbers that we did pre-pandemic. But each year since the pandemic, our numbers are increasing every year. So we're happy about that. And and we want to bring it back to not only the numbers of before the pandemic, but even go above that. So it's really a great event. There's community sponsors at Simmons Elementary School, local businesses set up tables and booths, a local civic organization set up tables and booths. So a lot of work goes into it. There's much more than just the running and walking that goes into the event. So Kyle and Allie, I know the two of you are here this evening. Thank you for all you do with that event and putting it together and coordinating it. And Patty and Steve, thanks for all you do with the food pantry and your support of the community too.
Just wanted to say, I was reading on the website because I thought it was always called the Freezer 5K just because it was freezing out in the winter. But I read that it's to restock the freezer for St. Vincent de Paul Society, right? No, never mind. I thought it was
It's cold.
really
I thought it was because it's
neat.
cold and sometimes it's like been snow out and stuff.
Right, right. No, thank you so much.
But it does help us restock the food pantry.
Dennis has a check for you, and we have a big check that you can hold on to for your picture.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, Ed and Patty and Steve, if you could just hang out, we're going to do pictures after the Miracle Field presentation.
Okay, and our next item is the Miracle Field presentation. They're going to do an update for us, mostly for the benefit of our new members, so that they can be up to speed on your current progress.
We have props.
Nancy, do you want to? Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us back. Push this right.
Till the light lights up.
Yep. There you go. Nancy and I were both just talking, and we were saying to each other, "How do you work the microphones?" Couldn't remember. Again, thanks for having us. This, as you said, Mr. Whiteside, is for the benefit of the new council members. Shunky, am I saying that right, Ellen? I got it wrong.
Really close though. Chunky. Just take off the
Chunky.
Um, 1st 2 letters entirely.
CH,
Yeah.
okay. And Miss Slack. So thank you for having us here tonight. One thing of note for Miracle Field, we are having, it's not a freezer 5K, but we are having an opening day 5K that is scheduled for April 6th. We've run it 3 times now. The date's always been 4th, 5th, and I try to memorize it. And I hope to see all of you guys there. And one other little piece of news, since we last were here, we received a $50,000 grant from the Horsham Rotary Club, and we have filed for a grant for nearly $700,000 with the state. I'm very optimistic about that grant. Just today, we received a letter of support that made its way to the governor's desk that's signed by 10 state representatives, all within Montgomery and Bucks County. So lots of support still at the state level. So Ms. Kirby has been by my side through the last 3 years here. So thank you for that. And we've showed the plans a few times now, and as you will see, Ms. Kirby is an expert, and she'll walk you through this.
Okay, so we're going to do a couple things.
You don't have to hold it.
I don't know. Oh, good. Thank you. We're going to do a couple things, but since this is your time, if you want to do something else, we can. So Bill just gave you an overview kind of our projects. I'm going to describe the plans for you, and then I'm going to give you an idea of what the next 6 months look like. If there's any other questions, comments, concerns that you want to go over, let us know. More of a conversation than a presentation. So why don't we do the plans first? What you see in front of you is the blueprints that we got created from Hearth Builder. These are the beginning blueprints that we used to get us to where we are now. And just to orient you on the blueprints, this right here, if you follow this road down, this would take you out to Horsham Road. So coming into the park, on the left-hand side is the parking lot. This is the existing parking lot. And the way the field is oriented, we're going to place the field, the new field, right on the edge of the parking lot. So one of the things that we got was a lot of feedback from the community on where the field should go, what was important to the people who were using the field, et cetera. And one of the things that we wanted to do is make sure that the field was in the center of the park. So that's where we put it, in the center of the park, right behind where the existing concession stands are. The other thing that we're adding here, right in this area, is what we call the valet area. So I think a lot of people in this room, have come into the park for when it's baseball season and had to drop off kids or equipment, or kids and equipment, or a coach and some equipment, and it's kind of tough to maneuver all of that. So what we're adding here in this area is that valet area. There's enough room for 3 cars to come in, drop off, and those people can drop off and get easily into this area for games. It's also accessible to the other areas of the park. So when designing this area, it wasn't just about how do we make this part of the park the best it can be, but what else can we do to make the other parts of the park work more efficiently as well. As we look at this part of the park, you're going to see this part right here. We're adding 3 separate bathrooms for the Miracle Field. 2 of them, and they're pretty small here, but we do have renderings, 2 of them are going to be single bathrooms that are handicap accessible. 1 will have a shower and changing area built into the bathroom, so that if anyone for any reason needs that kind of facility, it will be available. We're still working with the township to figure out if those bathrooms will be accessible when the field is not being used. But right now, those 3 bathrooms will be accessible when the field is in use. Right in front of the bathrooms is our announcers area. The announcer booth will be visible from the front and the back. Imagine glass here and here. So if you're standing behind the announcer booth, you can look straight through the field. Sight lines were very important when building the field, so that anyone with any capabilities could see what was going on, especially when we're talking about parents with children with disabilities. Sight lines become very, very important. So we didn't want to put a big structure right in the middle of the field and have sight lines disturbed. The announcer booth is also going to be handicap accessible. All of our buildings are going to be handicap accessible, but the announcer booth will be as well, so that if someone with a disability would like to be in the announcer booth and run that area, that's certainly going to be an option. Right in front of the announcer booth there's going to be a row of stands, as well as next to each of the dugouts, there is a row of stands. Right there and right there. There is also going to be areas for people to just come up with their chairs and sit and watch a game. So there's going to be lots of possibilities for people to have seating available. The stands will be built in here, here, and here. And in front of those stands, because they will be stadium-like stands, you can bring your chair and sit right in front. No one's sight line, again, will be disturbed. But that way people have flexibility. So if you'd like to sit that way, great. If you'd like to sit in the stands, that would be great as well. Right next to the stands are the dugouts. There was a lot of thought put into the dugouts, how they would be oriented. There are benches and open spaces built into the dugouts. This was more about just where are the players going to sit, and a lot about how are the players going to interact. So instead of putting lots of benches and then open areas next to the benches, we were very thoughtful about how do the open spaces work. And that's for people with wheelchairs. Where do they sit and how are they going to be incorporated into the team? So instead of being pushed off to the side, they can actually sit with their friends, which is important, right? So you'll see in some of the renderings, there's bench areas and then there's open spaces in between the benches so that they can be incorporated into the team as opposed to being pushed off to the side. The stands and the dugout are close to one another. There's a door in between. So while the parents can help out their children if necessary, they don't need to help out their children. Some parents want to do that. We've gotten that feedback. We've also gotten the feedback that when they're here, they're with their coaches, and we want to be separate. So there's a door. And if the parents want to help, great. And if the parents don't want to help, they don't have to. And that's that door in between. We also have fencing that will go around the field and around the complex. The first piece of feedback that we got was, can we ensure that our kids, if we're going to be using it for kids, will stay inside the complex, especially if we have more than one child and we want to watch one child and have the other one be able to do something, but they're going to stay inside the complex, which is why we have 2 rows of fencing. And the other piece for the fencing is that we didn't want any swinging fences for the dugout. No hands getting pinched. For coaches that don't like a swinging fence, no sound of the swinging fence, or consistently telling kids, close the fence, close the fence, close the fence. So in the design, we figured out a way to have protection from flying balls with the fence without having a swinging fence in the way. And we have a rendering of that too. You'll see our field. What's the size of the field, Bill?
It's 225 feet from home plate to center field, which I have learned from a friend in the room that is regulation college softball. So typically when you watch the Little League World Series around Labor Day, that fence is at about 200 to 210 feet. So this is a rather large field and will be not only the finest miracle field in the country, it will be the largest of its kind in the country.
So why are we making it so big? We want it multi-use, right? So yes, primary use, initial use is baseball, softball. But you'll see that we have an outline here for a possible soccer field. We've thrown out the idea of, could it be used for rugby? How about a veterans league? There's probably lots of ideas that we haven't even thought of. But what we don't want to do is create this beautiful facility and then 80% of the time put a lock on it and not use it. And kids go to school, right? So there's a lot of time where we can use the field for other sources that we're not even thinking of yet, but there's a lot of people and a lot of constituents within the community that can use the field. So we're trying to think forward and be future looking about how we can use the field in a lot of different ways that aren't just baseball and softball for small children. And that's why we're making it the size and shape that it is. Let's step outside of the field for a second and look at some of the out fixtures. There's a couple. Right next to the bathrooms in this area right here is what we call a flex space. So there's going to be Miracle Field swag, and I know everyone in this room will want a little bit of Miracle Field swag. We'll be able to sell it in this space. If we have special events and we need a little bit of extra space, we'll be able to have that here. So it's a flexible space that we can use. One thing we want to make sure that everyone knows is this is not our own special concession stand. We're not separating the Miracle Field from every other place in the complex. The Miracle Field will be using the concession stand just like everybody else is. So one of the things that we're doing is making sure the existing concession stand is handicap accessible. So everybody can use the existing concession stand, but this flex space is going to be kind of our retail space, for lack of a better term. We also have a storage area, and we're creating an indoor sensory playroom. So another piece of feedback that we got from our community is that sometimes this, although it's wonderful, is a lot. It's a lot for the people who are going to be using the space. So can we have a quieter space for them to be in? And instead of making all of this storage, we cut it in half, and we're creating an indoor sensory play area that will be available for whomever needs it, whenever they need it, for people who need kind of to take that break and have a quiet place to be, whether that's for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour or however long they need to be in there. Outside of this area, we are also creating a sensory garden. So you'll see that depicted right here. So if they want to be inside in the sensory playroom, they can be. If they would rather be outside in the sensory garden, they can do that as well.
And I would just add there too that I visited a Miracle Field in Atlanta last summer, and these were both project initiatives that were added on later, the sensory garden and the playroom, the indoor playroom. You may have never heard of such a thing, but at facilities like this is rather commonplace now.
When you walk into the area in the main entrance, we're going to have bricks that we're going to be selling, commemorative bricks, similar to the ones kind of out front of the building, so that people can, put whatever they want on the bricks, and that can stay as kind of an area for people to commemorate their piece of the Miracle Field. And that will be on the entrance as you walk in. Are there any questions about the field or the outbuildings, how we designed it? Any questions?
What is the ground like from exiting the parking lot before, well, first of all, great presentation. I just went right into my question. But yeah, I was just thinking about that as you were talking. Is it paved or is it otherwise?
So the ground
Yeah.
inside the complex is going to be paved, except for the bricks, which will be bricks.
I've seen a few different presentations on the Miracle Field, and this is definitely the most detail, the most, things really being fleshed out. You can see that with the sensory areas. And are the valet areas new, or were they a part of the plan previously?
They are about October new.
Okay, yeah, no, that
Yeah.
makes sense. I think when you spoke, it was maybe in August.
Yeah.
In the summer. Okay, I just think there are so many brilliant additions that we're seeing here that are going to benefit the community as a whole, and obviously the community who will be utilizing predominantly the space. You mentioned Atlanta having those sensory areas. Have you been to any of the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders games? It's their minor league team there.
I have not.
Okay, they have a sensory room also. My nephew and his family, my sister-in-law, we were able to go to a game with them that was specifically for his class, which are autistic students. And we had that sensory room. It was really an incredible space. So if you're looking for other examples of things to include, that's another great resource. Thank you so much for this presentation.
Can you give us some information on your schedule?
Yes. So coming up the next 6 months, our NPDES permit is in flight. So That is the permit that we need to actually do all of these wonderful things. In order to do anything on the site, we need to get that permit approved. So that is in flight. That's kind of the next big step. Once we get that permit, we can start clearing the ground and digging our holes and getting going. So that's the next exciting
Nancy, are you saying in flight like a plane?
In flight, like.
In flight.
In flight, yes.
Okay, got it.
In progress.
Just making sure.
Yes, like a plane. Because it's only up from here, Ellen, only up from here.
I completely agree.
The groundbreaking ceremony, which is another exciting piece, is going to be April 6th as well. So we're piggybacking the groundbreaking ceremony after the opening day 5K. So that's the next big event for us. And then we're hoping that construction can start fall of 2024. And hopefully next year we will have opening day on the field, an opening day ceremony on the field April of 2025. That's our schedule so far.
Good, thank you for that. I'd like to point out, too, that Sean is not only the council representative for this team, but an integral part. Sean, I don't know if you have any comments you'd like to make.
I just want to say the things you were saying, Ellen, about the changes you've seen, the amount of time that the Miracle Field has spent with different meetings with Hearth. I think you did 3 community sessions, one with the Challenger League itself, another with the Little League Board, and then another with the community at large at the community center, and then adjusting the plans on each part. So all the work you guys have done has been amazing. And I also want to acknowledge my fellow council members. The continued support that you guys have shown throughout this whole process has been incredibly important, including the letter of support you guys wrote for us for the RCAP grant has been hugely helpful. Township staff has been incredibly helpful. I appreciate everything you guys have done, whether it's prepping the park for our opening day 5K or helping us coordinate things with outside entities and helping us with this whole process that is relatively new to us. Providing your expertise has been really helpful. And then with Gilmore, providing the engineering assistance. It's really been a community effort, and I appreciate all the work that everybody's done. And I'm really excited to see this go into action and continue to build a more community environment in our township with youth, and then as this gets underway, all the adult leagues that we plan on bringing into our community. Just keep building on the park system that I don't think many communities can really rival us with. So thank you guys. Thank you to the council members. It's been incredible. Looking forward to see this continue building. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Your show and tell box.
Our show and tell box.
Go ahead.
So because we are where we are, we're looking at materials to see what could possibly be our material for the field, since that's clearly one of the biggest parts. And what we brought today is possible turf that we could use. So that's what's in our show and tell box. It's possible turf for our field. If you guys want to see it, or see it after the meeting.
And I would just add too that the thing that makes this turf so special is that it there's 2 surfaces in one. So the darker surface is the baseline surface, and the batter's box surface that is the higher traffic area. So this is a little bit more dense, will allow for wheelchairs and walker and mobility devices a little bit easier, while this surface is more, I'll call it typical turf playable. Another advantage to this surface over other surfaces that were originally Miracle Fields used a rubberized surface. And what's happened over the years, the leagues find out that they can't play in the summer because the heat of the field is so intense. So they actually cancel games in the summer. this surface is about somewhere between 18 and 24 degrees cooler during the summer. And another really cool thing, just because he is in the area and resurfacing the Richboro field, the gentleman's firm who designed this is actually in the room tonight, and his name is Eric. He's back there somewhere behind me, and he's helping guide us along. And this is a sample of the potential surface that we will use.
I think there's just one more person I want to acknowledge real quick. It's the Director of Operations. Is that the right term? For the Mercer County Miracle Field. We're able to visit them in the fall, and seeing the program that they have built there has been amazing. And the fact that he's here right now shows the community that the Miracle League at large strives to bring kids together. So I appreciate you being here tonight.
And Dan, if you could just stand up too, and let me just say too about the community. If I go 2 or 3 weeks without reaching out to Dan, he texts me and he's like, hey, how are things going? What can I do for you? He's helped with a lot of advice, and we wouldn't be here without him, so thank you.
All right, I did think of other questions. I see the outline for soccer field. I'm kind of assuming no, but would there be lines for a soccer field, or how would that work?
So we're playing with a lot of different ideas. One of the things that we were thinking is there's a lot of retractable magnet things that we can have. So we can have like a retractable fence, or that we can put along.
That was
these
my next
lines.
question. What was the magnetic temporary?
Yes. That actually outlines the field for that purpose. The other thing that we were talking about is for smaller kids. This is really far for home run, really far. But we can put another inside fence here, again with like magnets, so little kids can have home runs too, because that's important for little kids to have home runs too. So there's a lot of things that we can do with the field to retrofit it, for lack of a better term, to make it multi-use.
And one last maybe thing. I had talked to Bill at Rotary meetings about other partnerships and groups to reach out to as far as usage, but when you mentioned that they'll be in school, has there been any connection with the school district as far as adaptive PE? Because that could be a use during the school day that would make sense.
Not yet,
Okay.
but it's on our list. Right now, we're in build mode.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry.
So
I'd like to get ahead of myself.
No. We're in build mode now. I think some of those partnerships are easier when they can see the thing that they're partnering with.
Yeah, that's the next key step for us. Once we get out of build mode, we will, and we've somewhat started that already, reaching out to community groups, Special Olympics, and some other organizations. So it's probably about 6 months away. And it might sound shocking when I say this, but the goal is to wear the turf out. First time I said it, I got some strange looks, but I mean, if we wear the turf out in 10 years, then we did our job, right? And then we'll hire Nancy to go pursue state grants. But that's the goal.
Can we come feel the turf?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have more? Dan?
Is the artificial surface free from PFAs and other forever chemicals?
I had a feeling that would come up, and I would defer that question to Eric Schmidt, who's in the room.
Yes, it is. There's no PFAs in the entire system throughout. And it is made out of post-consumer 75% recycled product. So it's pretty good environmental, and then when it is replaced, hopefully you get 15, 18 years out of it, not 10, but that'd be great if you only got 10. The entire surface, instead of replacing the entire field, you're only replacing the upper surface, which is about a third of the cost of a full field replacement. And the recycled material that is in the base underneath the surfacing, one of the things that is most critical about is it protects kiddos from a head-to-ground impact concussion rate of up to 6 feet high. So there's a lot of benefits, and it is made out of 75% post-consumer recycled, and it is fully recyclable at the end of the slide.
And I would just add too, for some context here, that Eric, who just spoke, resurfaced the field for Dan, who is to Eric's right, back about a year ago. The Miracle Field team visited that site. We saw this turf in action. They run an amazing program there. There were about 40 kids there that night, under the lights, by the way, many utilizing wheelchairs or prosthetic devices that utilize this surface.
Bill alluded to the temperature difference that comes from, instead of using granulized rubber for the fill, they use an antimicrobial sand. So there won't be any sort of odor emitted or chemicals emitted like in traditional turf fields that have granulized rubber fill.
Okay?
Any other questions?
No. All right, well, then.
Do you want to come feel the turf?
Yeah, should all.
Well, we'll do that when we do the pictures.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you for that presentation.
Thank you very much.
All right, Bill, you want to kind of organize us for what we want to do?
Yeah, we'll do pictures first, and we'll let Ed get up here. He has to go to work early tomorrow morning to cross the kids, so he has to get a good night's sleep to be safe out there. So Ed, if you could come up.
1, 2, 3.
No one invited.
Terry, everybody step that way.
Well, if Sean comes to this side with that.
No. One more. 1.
Right, the next item tonight then is opportunity for questions or comments from the public. Anybody with any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Greg Flynn, if you can hear me. All right. Greg, a little closer to the mic, please. Sure. Greg Flynn, 1219 Horsham Road. I was here last week, and I apologize to your township manager because I didn't call him, and he didn't have my number. So I don't want to put you on the spot. I can call you tomorrow. I can call you anytime if you have any updates or anything on what we previously discussed.
Sure. I did.
Thank you.
We did a lot of research. Sometimes you just Google things too and do a lot of research. But the issue was the sanctuary city.
Correct.
And to start off with, Horsham Township is not a sanctuary city. I had a lot of conversation with the Montgomery County Commissioner's Office and the Montgomery County Solicitor's Office.
Mm-hmm.
The county itself never acted or voted to be a sanctuary county. What happened, and the way the county solicitor explained it to me, was in 2014 there was a federal court order placed upon correctional facilities across the country, and it had to do with how they treated illegal immigrants in the correctional facilities. And again, it was a federal court order. The county complied with the court ruling and order in 2014, and since then they have noticed themselves on listings as a sanctuary county. But the county itself never voted and never opted in as a sanctuary county. Their assumption has been for the last decade was them, as well as many other counties across the country who complied with the federal court order, got listed as sanctuary counties because they complied with the federal court order that just had to do with correctional facilities in counties.
Okay.
So I know that's a long, we also reached out to all of our federal Department of Defense, all of our Department of Navy. Nobody has heard of anything to be using the base as a location for immigrants. So we did spend a lot of time, but we are, aside from that, we are very vigilant on not only the base but our township. Watching over our township. So I'm pretty comfortable with I'm very comfortable with the answers that the county gave us, and we'll just keep an eye. We'll continue to keep a vigilant eye over the base and the township.
Well, then that makes me feel a lot better. And I think it'll make a lot of other people feel better too. Because when it gets out there like it got out there, now we know. But I think the key word is, and you said it, and if the council honors it, being vigilant, kind of crazy things going on. And it's more the illegal side than the immigrants. I think we all understand that. But yeah, the vigilance will be the key. Who knows what's going to happen? Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just was running so much, and and then even tonight I got home and I'm like, what time's that meeting? And of course I looked it up. It says 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I don't think so. So I went in my paperwork, and here I am. So thank you very much, and thank the council, and very well done. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you for your questions. Is there anybody else? All right, then the next item would be to pay the bills. Are there any?
There's no highlights. No.
Then do we have a motion to pay the checks?
I move to approve the list of checks in all funds in the amount of $329,520.01 and further move to authorize payment of the same.
Second?
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item would be to review zoning hearing board applications heard in March. First item is Gwen and Chris Amoroso, 477 Caldwell Lane. It's HTZHB 24-02. Mr. Gadea Walker.
So this is in the Horsham Valley Estates neighborhood. It's a corner lot. So as council knows, corner lots in our zoning code, their side yard that we would normally consider is a front yard. So this is the house. This is their front yard here, and then this is the corner lot. But this side yard in our zoning code is considered a front yard as well as their rear yard here. What they would like to do is construct a swimming pool. In addition to the swimming pool, they want to put a fence and have to put a fence around for the safety of the pool. But we only allow fences 4 feet high in our zoning code, and they would like this fence to be a 54-inch high fence here. If council so chooses to be neutral to it, the staff recommendations would be they show a black aluminum. I always would call it one of those like wrought iron, but it's not iron. It's aluminum fences. Very nice looking. It's black. That's what they show on their plan and in their application. That is a condition if the zoning hearing board so chooses to grant them. It matches much of the fencing throughout the neighborhood, so it's not that 6-foot white solid privacy fence. It's the black aluminum, very nice looking fence, and that they have this landscaping plan. So that's going to be very important, that this landscaping buffers not only the fence but also their pool area along Barrington Street. So again, if council would like to consider to be neutral, those are 2 conditions that the staff is recommending, that this landscaping be followed through with and is conditioned upon their approval, as well as the fence that they show on their plan.
One of the reasons we have the 2 front yard issues on corner lots is because of a fence that could impair visibility on the road. This fence is unlikely to impair that visibility.
Correct.
Okay. You guys okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Was that did they need a variance for the deck height as well? Like, does our decision weigh in on that?
Not the deck height. just the pool fencing. They needed
It was the distance to the rear yard was too,
the rear yard setback.
Yes.
Yes.
and that, from what I read, was due to the height of the deck, because, so it needed to be, can you refresh, how many feet is the ordinance? It needed to be,
Yep, they need a rear yard setback. They want to be permitted a rear yard setback, and this is a covered deck that exists today, but they need, it's making them in compliance with that's an existing nonconformity that was found with this application. So it's putting them into compliance if they're granted this variance.
Mr. Walker, the landscape plan you referred to, does that exist, or is it something you'd like them to work out with the township landscape architect? I don't see a landscape plan in the packet.
That's something that we would definitely want, I believe, for them to work out with the landscape architect. What we don't want is like someone running out to Lowe's and buying, a 2-foot high tree. So they would have to design it with the landscape architect to their satisfaction.
Thank you.
Martha, do you understand the compliance thing?
I
If we go
do.
out and people need a variance for something, and we find anomalies of old things, we'll try to include them in the new variance so that they can be compliant by the time it's over.
okay, and had, I guess, no neighbors had issued any complaints when they constructed this? So, again, when I was reading, it was like, if the deck height was under 5 feet, they wouldn't have needed the variance anyway, so I was curious, like, how high off the ground it was, and that it's covered on top of it, so it's quite large, and
They'd be covering it, I don't know how it got there before, but,
Yeah. And no neighbors had complained on that or anything? Okay.
Okay, all right, so we're good on that one. The next is Franco and Linda DeAndrea, 240 Fair Oaks Avenue, HTZHB 24-03.
I don't know if is anyone here for that application. I don't see. I was expecting them, but I don't see them. This is on Fair Oaks Avenue. It's in our R4 zoning district, and this is. This is the existing 2-story dwelling here. What they have done so far to the property, and by the way, this is three separate tax parcels. You can align here and align here. So right now, this is one tax parcel, this is one tax parcel, and this is one tax parcel. It's in a very older section of our township where we have a lot of these small parcels that have been not technically legally merged, but have been purchased by many people over many decades, and then they use the whole lot. And this is what happened here. So, at any rate, this was a garage back here. This outline here was a garage that was taken down and demolished. This was an in-ground pool that was abandoned and filled in and demolished also. The dwelling has been restored and renovated. It's actually a great improvement to what was there. And the property owner would now like to build a garage, as you see here in their plan. And the variance that they would need to build the garage is just the size of the garage is not customarily something for this neighborhood. So our zoning does cover accessory uses in neighborhoods, and the property owner came at us originally with a 2,857 square foot garage, which our code enforcement told them was much too large for that neighborhood in that zoning district. They came back with a garage at 1,857 square feet, which you see in front of you this evening. And it's still, for that neighborhood, not customarily a use in the size for that neighborhood. So that's why they submitted their zoning hearing board application. Typically in that neighborhood, in the R4 for a detached garage, you're talking about around 1,000 square foot or less would just be a building permit. That's what's typical for a detached garage in that zoning district in that neighborhood. So that application is in front of you this evening. If council is desired to be neutral, or if you want to recommend any conditions, I do have a short list. Staff has a short list of recommended conditions. If you want, would like me to review them?
So, just a couple of comments. 'Cause I agree that the garage tends to be quite large for this neighborhood. On the other hand, if those three parcels are merged together, that lot's bigger than most of the others in the neighborhood as well.
That's true too.
So, it's just my opinion. I think we should be opposed to this, but knowing those facts, the zoning hearing board is liable to consider it. So why don't we hear the proposed conditions in case they do?
Well, one condition would be that they merge all three lots into one. It would be, that's one condition, that it would become one tax parcel, one property. That they would also do a deed restriction for this garage, that it could never be used for a business, it could not be used for an apartment, and it cannot be, God bless you, it can't be used for a in-law suite, and those would be deed restrictions. Also, for buffering reasons, for that back here they do some type of buffer, whether it's a privacy fence or some landscaping to buffer the garage from these properties on this street back here, as well as out front a little bit, like where I'm talking about is right here, right in front, to buffer it with landscaping or, again, a privacy fence or landscaping. Another recommendation would be the facade. You can, especially the facade that will face the street, that the facade is something to the satisfaction of the township, that it's nice looking, and maybe, at least the facade. There's so many different things you can do nowadays with facade and siding and hardy board and all that. You can actually make things look not like a garage. So that would be another condition. That they dedicate the right-of-way along Fair Oaks Avenue to the township, in case the township ever needs that right-of-way in the future. And even though they meet our impervious coverage requirements for this, that they do some type of stormwater control, whether it's a rain garden, rain barrels, some type of stormwater control to the satisfaction of the township engineer. And that would be, it seems like a lot, but it is a lot that they want to do. So that's just staff recommendation for conditions.
Yeah, I had two questions. What is the setback requirement for this structure by code?
I don't have the setback for R4, but it does, the setbacks all meet.
The 7 feet
meet
meets
the
it?
zoning code, yeah.
Okay. And the second question, we know what they want to do with this? I heard you in the deed restriction a lot, but I noticed that the people don't live at this address.
No, the parents own the property, and their daughter and son-in-law either have or will be moving into the house, and the father, who owns the property, will be putting 2 or 3 of his antique historic cars into the garage. That's what we've been told.
Has nothing to do with his daughter or son-in-law moving into the property even?
Not so much the garage.
Okay.
If they were to merge the 3 lots and build something where the in-ground pool is or the one-story garage that would be removed, would they still meet impervious requirements?
They have removed them.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, in the future,
Yeah.
if they have that full amount of space there, like how much more percentage do they have that they could still build?
I don't know that
Okay,
off
sorry.
the top of my head.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well, they would have to come in for variance, number one, and number two, the fact that all the parcels are merged, we have a lot more control over what they could do in the future.
And this is a one-story garage, it looks like. Is that accurate as well?
correct, 1 story.
I'm aligned with the Whiteside on being opposed. It seems.
Okay, so.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
I didn't know if we were really taking votes.
I mean, if everybody's good with that, we should have Mary write a letter to that effect that says we're opposed to the application, but if they choose to give it consideration, these are the conditions that we would like to see applied.
Okay, I'm aligned.
Okay? All right.
Thank you.
And there's a third knot on that somewhere?
Yeah, there was 5, actually. You didn't hear all 5? What's the matter, you?
I'm writing.
Did you have any more questions on that for us? Mary?
I do not. I got all the conditions as Bill was doing.
All right. Well, with that in mind, if there's no further business.
No, we have one more application.
Oh, I'm sleeping on the job here. Sorry about that. Diane Fratone, 432 Lower State Road. It is HTZHB 24-04.
And this one, their attorney is here and contractor is here this evening, but this is 432 Lower State Road, just to orient you a little bit. Down here is Lower State Road. This is the golf range on Lower State Road. And then this is the driveway that goes back to now called the Horsham Center for Jewish Life, the former Abramson Center. And then down this way is Horsham Road. And this is a long, narrow lot. And there's an old home that sits right here. And actually the front of the home faces this direction. And I know they're going to, well, I don't want to steal your thunder. You sat here all night. And I'll let you do your presentation.
Sure,
And
thank
you. Want
you.
to introduce yourselves, please?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Zach Morano from the law firm of Hamburg, Rubin, Mullen, Maxwell, and Lupin. And to my right is
Ken Farabee, Farabee Construction.
So, as Mr. Walker alluded to, Diane Fratone is the single owner of the property highlighted in yellow there off Lower State Road. Diane, the property is currently existed with that single-family home. She is proposing to demolish the home and reconstruct the home because it's in a little bit of a state of disrepair currently. So she's proposing to put a approximately 1,500 square foot, 1-story ranch home on the property. So we are in front of the council for a review tonight because we have filed a zoning application related to the side yard setbacks. She is currently non-conforming with respect to a couple different dimensional requirements of the zoning code. The property is located in the O1 office district as a result of a rezoning in the past few years. So the proposal is going to bring the property into compliance with a couple of the requirements. However, it is not going to meet the side yard setback requirements. I'll let Ken get into the details of it, but the property is only approximately 75 feet wide as it is, so it cannot possibly meet the wide requirements of the code. So I will let Ken get into any more of those details. But in a nutshell, that is what Ms. Fratone and we are proposing. So, Ken, is there anything else you'd like to add for the board?
I don't think there's too much to add on to that. I mean, basically, the house that exists there now has seen its usefulness. I'm going to be subtle. So we're proposing to construct the new house, which will bring the front yard into compliance with the zoning district, which currently the existing house does not comply with the zoning district. It's a 30 by 50 ranch house, relatively modest, three bed, 2-bath house. We're going to construct that, and at the end of construction, we're going to tear down the existing house, connect the utilities, finish our grading, and then it'll be, for Diane, somewhat of a seamless move from the front house to the back house. And as Zach had said, we are in for, we tried to keep it only to one thing. We're required for, asking for a variance, and that's the side yard. The side yards required in that district, I believe, are 100 feet. And
that's correct.
The lot is 75 feet, so it's pretty hard to comply. I don't think what we're asking for is out of line. The house is, as I said, fairly modest, and it will face Lower State Road. And I think all in all is an improvement to the property.
And staff agrees. It is definitely an improvement. You're improving, as you both said, upon non-conforming zoning issues now. And, you know, the house is going to look, well, it'll be a brand-new home. So
Correct.
it's going to be a lot better than the house that exists today. It's going to be off the road more. It's going to face the road. It's going to look normal and typical, with the front of the house facing the road. And we would recommend neutral, and we have no recommended conditions for it.
You guys good? Good. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you
very much.
All right. Now, I think we're done. Does anybody have anything else?
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
Move to adjourn. Second.
Meeting adjourned.